Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm a little overwhelmed, but I think you might be able to help me out. CPS removed my granddaughter Lucy from her home and placed her with me. The social worker told me to go to court to get a guardianship, or she would have to take the matter to court. I went to the courthouse, and they gave me this big stack of papers. I'm not sure where to begin.
That happens a lot. The packet is a little intimidating, but it does have all of the forms that you need to ask for guardianship of the person. Had you heard of a guardianship before?
Isn't it when you get custody of a child?
Something like that. It's when the court orders that someone other than a child's parents have custody of a child or the ability to manage the child's property, or both. Most people are looking for a guardianship of the person because most children don't have property or other assets that need to be managed, although this sometimes happens, especially when parents have passed away leaving an inheritance.
Oh, there's no money or anything like that. I just need custody.
Great. We'll work on the paperwork for a guardianship of the person only then. Before we get started with the paperwork, have you had the opportunity to do any research about the steps you need to take to obtain a guardianship?
Not really. Could you go over it?
Sure. The process starts with filling out the forms, which is what we are working on today. Once they are completed, you would make copies and file the originals and the copies at the probate court. The court will assign a hearing date for your case. It's up to you to then have the petition and a notice of hearing served on the parents, grandparents, the child if 12 or older, as well as any siblings who are 12 or older. If any of these relatives can't be located, you would need to complete a form explaining all of the steps you took to locate them and ask the court to excuse you from giving them notice of the proceedings. About 2 weeks before your hearing, the court will publish what they call probate notes, which identify what, if anything, is missing from the file. You would then do a written response to those probate notes, and finally, you would attend your hearing. Hopefully, at the hearing, your guardianship will be granted. This whole process takes about 2 months from start to finish.
That long?
By court standards, that's pretty short.
So, since Lucy doesn't have any assets that need management, I'm looking at a guardianship of the person. How is that different from an adoption?
I get asked that a lot. The biggest difference is that adoption is permanent. If you adopt Lucy, you become her parent for life. Her parents' rights would be terminated, and they would no longer legally be her parents. Guardianship is temporary, and at most would only last until Lucy turns 18. During the guardianship, her parents' rights would be suspended only, not terminated.
Other than Lucy turning 18, how else could it end?
Other than ending automatically when Lucy turns 18, a guardianship would end if someone asks the court to end the guardianship and the court grants the request. It could also end if Lucy successfully petitions the court for emancipation, joins the military, or gets married before 18, but those last three are fairly uncommon.
You said the guardianship would grant me custody. What does that mean?
Lucy would live with you unless the court orders differently. You would be responsible for feeding her, clothing her, making sure she goes to school and gets necessary medical treatment, counseling, and so on, just like a parent. You would be responsible for making her health care decisions and education decisions, just like a parent. You'd also be liable for any intentional acts that she commits, such as vandalism, and if you get her a driver's license, for any motor vehicle accidents, just like a parent would.
What if I want to move?
You'd need to notify the court in writing if you move somewhere else in California, but you'd need to ask for a court order allowing the move if you wanted to move outside of California.
Okay, so unless the court says differently, Lucy would need to live with me. Could she spend a weekend at a friend's house or go on a camping trip?
Of course, she must live with you, but that doesn't mean that she can't have sleepovers or go camping or things like that.
What about her parents? I know her father still wants to see her.
Parents are presumed to have a right to what the court calls reasonable visitation, but the guardian gets to decide initially what that is.
Can I be guardian with my husband?
Of course, you can both ask to be guardian.
Do I have to apply with him to be guardian?
Of course not. You should decide together whether only you or both of you should be guardian. If you're both guardian, you're both responsible. On the other hand, if something were to happen to either of you, the other would still have the power of a guardian.
I'll think about it and talk it over with him tonight. I think I'm ready to tackle this packet.